I had Steve Hargett on, and this is a special session with Stephen Anderson. I'm just going to take a minute here to do some recognition. The idea for this conference, the School Leadership Summit, actually came from a nice long conversation that Stephen and I had on thinking about how to collaborate and come up with some things to do that would have value for the community. So I just want to recognize Stephen for that idea and the role and the collaboration, and just really give some appreciation for all of that. So Stephen, I'm going to turn it over to you. Have a great session, and thanks again for everything.
Thank you, Steve. That's very, very humbling for me to hear. It really is something I think very special that you put together. I think I've been lurking all day in and out of sessions, and it's just the sheer volume of the amount of intelligence of the crowd that's out there in these sessions is truly amazing. And so the more folks that we can get together to hear about these topics and to talk about these topics, I think that's what the really cool aspect of this is. And it's all recorded and it's all archived, so it's going to be available for a good long while. So I think that's the true benefit of all this. But thank you. That's very, very kind. I appreciate that. Lisa, did you want to get anything jumped off, or did you want me to jump right in?
You can jump right in, sir.
All right. So what I want to spend some time talking about is this idea of leading in the digital age, or 21st century leadership. So before we start, so those people who maybe who don't know who I am, I'm Stephen Anderson, and my day job is I'm the Director of Instructional Technology for the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. We're a fairly large district of 81 schools and 53,000 students in the foothills of North Carolina, and I basically help guide an instructional technology program where my main focus for the past 2 years has been on growth of administrators. So we spent a lot of time doing professional development for teachers. We do a lot of time doing professional development, teaching teachers how to be better teachers, and really that's the heart of what our job is. But I think a lot of times we leave out administration, we leave out administrators. So one of my big personal goals for professionally has been to work with administrators and getting administrators up to pace to understand what does it mean to be a digital leader. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about today are the things that I'm doing with my administrators and with administrators around the country. It's really some of the things that I'm seeing and some of the things that I'm hearing from administrators that they're doing is just simply amazing. And what I was telling Steve and what I was telling everybody else is the volume of the amount of information that is being captured in this conference geared towards administration and geared towards leadership and teacher leadership is beyond comparison. This is truly something very, very special that has been put together. And it did come from a conversation that Steve and I have, but I will take no credit for anything else beyond that. This was something that was put together by a lot of people. But I think that the big takeaway from all of this is that you've got to leave here after our conversation and go run and tell somebody about all of this great information that's going to be here going forward. So let's jump right in. So this is me. This is me at about 4 years old. I have always known that I wanted to be a teacher. I've always known that I wanted to be a learner. I spent a great deal of time trying to do school and be school. My mother tells me from a very early age I wanted to be a teacher. I thought for a period of time I wanted to be a music teacher. I was a tuba player. I played in the marching band. I was in a college marching band, and that was kind of a period in my life that I absolutely loved and thought, hey, this would be something I could do. But I started working in kindergarten classrooms and interning in kindergarten classrooms and thought, I really want to be a teacher. But I use this picture a lot because it shows kind of the divergence with the next image. That when I played, I had a different series and I had a different tool set that I played with. I had crayons, I had flashcards, I had pencils, and I had markers. And now this is my daughter, and she has her iPad. And so our kids are growing up in a very digitally rich culture. Now there's lots of discussion about whether or not that's a good thing, whether that's a bad thing, whether or not kids are interacting with each other enough, whether they're having too much screen time. I think the takeaway for us in education is that Mark Pinsky would argue that there's no such thing as a digital native. I would tend to agree. Our kids come to us with digital tools that they're almost born with. My wife is pregnant, and I have another daughter due here in about 3 months. And I know that her world is going to be completely different from the world of my first daughter, simply because of the volume of information that's been created, the types of tools that have been created, the way that we interact with technology. In terms of leadership, though, what leaders have to understand is that we are still operating in a 20th or 19th century model of education and trying to cram a 21st century education on top of it. And what we have to do is completely rethink our type of leadership that we have in our schools in order to change teaching and change learning. So we have to understand that kids are coming to us digitally minded. They're coming to us expecting to use digital tools, and it's not something now that's a novelty. You know, my district spent a lot of time putting interactive whiteboards in classrooms. We spent a lot of time putting computers in classrooms. And when it first started, it was like, oh, you should go to this school and you should see this teacher using an interactive whiteboard. It's just amazing what they're doing. And it's not something that back then it was a novelty. And in some cases it still is a novelty. If you look at the discussion around BYOD and one-to-one and iPads and using cell phones, it seems like technology is still seen as a novelty. But to kids, it's just a natural part of who they are. My daughter gets up in the morning and she eats her breakfast and she draws on her whiteboard and she practices her letters, and then she picks up her iPad to further practice her letters. It's just something natural. It's not anything that I taught her. It's not anything that we spent a lot of time with. You know, one day I came home and I just threw my stuff on the couch, and she picked up my iPad at 18 months old, picked it up, unlocked it, navigated to a screen, opened an app, and started playing with letters. Those are not things that I taught her how to do, but yet when kids come to school, they expect to be connected, they expect to be engrossed in the content, but using digital tools, but it's a second nature to them. So we have to have not only teachers who are well prepared for that world, but we have to have leaders who understand how that world has to match with teaching and learning. So this whole idea of tools and technology being completely and radically different is not really anything new. There's always been skepticism when it comes to technology in the classroom. You look at just a few years ago, this idea of, oh my gosh, kids are using a calculator. Kids are using these calculators to solve math problems. How are they ever going to learn real math if they use a calculator? Oh my gosh. Well, you go back a little further. Oh my gosh, kids are using they're using these things called fountain pens. They're never going to learn how to write with a quill. They're never going to learn how to create their own ink. And I love the statement, we should not allow them to wallow in such luxury to the detriment of learning because they're using a fountain pen. This idea of technology being something that can have an impact on the classroom, or that change is something bad, is not anything new. We can go further back, that students depend on their own ink. They don't know how to make their own. They'll be unable to write ciphers until their next trip to the settlement. And if you look at the dates on these, this is less than 100 years ago. So the thought of students making their own ink and not knowing how to make their own ink as a topic of discussion in education to almost 100 years later, where we're arguing whether or not students should be able to bring devices to a classroom that are more powerful than what put a man on the moon, is simply incredible. But yet, we still have leadership in our schools that doesn't understand or doesn't know how to embrace that technology to enhance learning. We can go back even further, and students depend on paper too much. They don't know how to write on slate without getting dust all over themselves. They don't know how to clean a slate properly. What are they going to do when they run out of paper? So again, this whole idea of change has not happened as quickly as time has gone by. And even further than that, people were arguing about technology all the way back in the 1700s that they don't know how to prepare their own bark to calculate problems. What are they going to do when they drop their slates? So again, this whole idea that technology is radically changing, but yet we're having a very hard time keeping up with technology in schools, especially when it comes to leadership. So. And change, we're completely used to change. We have Bloom's taxonomy, and then 25 years later we have Bloom's revised taxonomy that moves creativity to the top. And then someone comes along and creates Bloom's taxonomy according to Web 2.0 tools. And then someone comes along and creates Bloom's taxonomy related to iPad apps. And the difference between the Web 2.0 tools and the creation of a Bloom's taxonomy with apps is less than 2 years. So we've got change happening, but we have leadership that is slow to adapt to that change. We have leadership that is resistant to that change. We have leadership that doesn't want to embrace that change process, and that doesn't want to or doesn't understand how to help teachers be better teachers of their content through technology. And so what I want to spend the majority of the time talking about is the ISTE nets. And for those people who are unfamiliar, so ISTE, the International Society for Technology and Education, has these national education technology standards that a lot of states and a lot of schools and districts have adopted. The nets for students, nets for teachers, nets for coaches, nets for technology, instructional technologists or instructional technology facilitators. But there is a set for administrators. These are the standards that administrators should aim to meet in their buildings every day as they grow into becoming that digital leader, as they grow into becoming that 21st century leader. So I want to take some time into looking at what does that really mean? What does it mean to have visionary leadership? Or what does it mean to have professional practice? What do those mean? So let's kind of break them down and unpack them and look at some of the ways that leaders can do that. So there are three big parts to visionary leadership. The first is planning for technology and being a part of that planning process. So in a lot of the schools in North Carolina, our schools are supposed to have a media technology advisory committee, and the head of that committee is supposed to be the principal. The principal is supposed to be the driving force of the media and technology program in all of our schools. But the reality is, in many schools, it doesn't happen, or the administration or the administrators don't understand, hey, this is the kind of technology we need to use, these are the kinds of things that we need to be doing, these are the kinds of directions we need to be going. And as a teacher, that's very difficult for me that's a hard pill to swallow. If I'm being evaluated on my use of technology and I have an administrator who doesn't understand how to use technology or doesn't know how to plan for the use of technology, it's very difficult for me to understand how I can be evaluated by this person. So that part of that visionary leadership is being a part of that planning process, understanding, even if you have, no one expects and I tell my administrators all the time, I don't expect them to be, to be an instructional technologist. I don't expect them to understand the ins and outs and all of the bits and pieces of the instructional technology planning process and instructional design and all those things. They went to school to be an administrator. They went to school they furthered their degrees to be an administrator, but part of that being an administrator is being a part of that planning process. Where are you going to go from here in terms of your technology? How are you going to encourage your teachers to be better users of technology in terms of their content? having and funding a technology leader in your building is, I think, one of the most important things that an administrator can do. Many schools don't have a person on staff to help with technology issues, either with hardware or software issues, or with instructional issues. But yet the sheer number of schools that are using bring your own device, or bringing one-to-one, or instituting iPads in the classroom, a lot of money is spent on stuff, but yet a lot of money is not spent on people. And part of the biggest part of technology is not stuff, it's people. It's having the right people in the right positions at the right time to help teachers make the right decisions when it comes to how to use that technology in the classroom. And so being that administrator, whether you're an administrator of a school, at the district level, a superintendent, understanding that having that technology leadership staff is so crucial to the growth of a program, it has to become a priority. And then making funding for technology integration a priority. It's inevitable that, you know, conversations are going to be had about how technology money should be spent, or you know, lots of districts, as I said, have rushed out to, oh, the district next door, they bought iPads for all their kids, so I guess we need to do the same thing. And so they rush into these decisions that may not be the best fit for their teachers, or may not be the best fit for their students. They're not having a good plan in place on how to spend that money. You know, I'm a believer in spending less money on hardware and more money on professional development and people. I would rather do with a little bit of less. I would rather do with less hardware. I'd rather do with less software. If I have teachers that are highly trained and highly skilled in their content area, but know how to layer that technology on top of their content, and I've also got people in place to help support those teachers. So it takes a good leader to understand, how do I balance those three things? How do I balance the needs of students to have, you know, cutting edge, up-to-date hardware and software versus their a sheer amount of professional development that they're going to need versus the people that are going to need to be in place to support all that. Again, I would rather do with much less stuff than have, you know, I would rather have, you know, 15, you know, a half set of iPads in the classroom versus 30 if that half set bought me a lot more PD than just, hey, here's an iPad and here's how you turn it on and here's how you download apps. So to me, it's part of that planning process for spending money is about, how do I spend that money wisely, and how do I spend it in such a way that promotes an environment where kids have access to technology, but they have access to technology in a way that the teachers feel comfortable enough to deliver their content. Because, you know, I talk a lot about technology, I talk a lot about how wonderful technology is, but technology doesn't replace good teaching, and helping administrators understand that they have to spend the money on professional development for their teachers when they use technology in their classroom. So excellence in professional practice. So there are two really big pieces to excellence in professional practice. One is the uses and encourages of the professional network, the professional learning network, which I'll come back to. But they understand the importance of having access to social networks and a fully accessible internet. And so what that means in terms of an administrator is understanding that blocking items from the internet, or preventing teachers and students from having the ability to use all of the types of resources that are out there is a detriment to learning. I work with districts all over the country, all over the U.S. on creating social networking policy. I wrote a piece for Edutopia and Facebook last year on a 7-step process to creating social media policy. And so part of that policy is to allow networks to be open. Now, you have to do what's necessary to protect kids from content that they shouldn't have access to, but blocking, you know, I ran into a situation not too long ago where a school district blocked all blogs, no matter what they were, edublogs, kid blogs, WordPress, anything, because they were afraid of what kids might see. Oftentimes, districts spend a lot of time blocking and preventing what might happen rather than embracing what could happen. And so having this open internet and having this ability for teachers to use all parts of the internet that they need is important. So having an administrator who understands the instructional aspects of, hey, how cool is it that we can use Twitter to connect with teachers from around the world? How cool is it that as an administrator I can talk to other administrators on a NING site or something like that? So having that importance. But I think the biggest piece of all of the nets of the most important part of the standards is this encouraging use of a professional network. I am a big advocate for being connected and the idea of connectedness. No matter the educator, no matter the content area, no matter where they are, what they do, this idea of being connected is so powerful, has so much value in the professional realm and the personal realm that it's hard to ignore the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of educators who are out there who are plugged in, who are sharing, who are learning from each other. And as an administrator, you know, this is a perfect example of that use of the personal learning network. Of you go to these sessions and you hear from these people who are much smarter than I and who are doing wonderful things in their classrooms, who in their schools that you can connect to and that you can form a relationship with and say, well, hey, can you share kind of what you talked about with me, and I can bring it to my district and I can share with you what you're doing, and it all. Alone we're smart, but together we're brilliant. And this idea of the personal learning network is huge. But the personal learning network is nothing new. I mean, we've had teachers who've been teaching for a long time, for a very long time. And the original personal learning network was the teacher next door. And so encouraging administrators to just get together and chat is a big part of what I do. It doesn't, personal learning networks, a lot of people would say they have to be digital. A personal learning network is just a group of people who can get together on a Friday after school, doing whatever, having a conversation about learning and leading and growing together. I love the idea of PLCs for administrators. I don't know that there are enough districts that do that. A lot of my principals have gotten together and done that on their own. So, you'll have groups of principals who work together in certain parts of the district, and they get together after a joint principals meeting, and they have their, east side of the district principal PLC. So the personal learning network doesn't have to be all digital. It can be the teacher next door, but the idea is that you get connected somehow. Now, the use of digital tools helps us make it easier. It makes it easier for us to connect. It makes us feel like we're less like on an island. And in leadership can be isolating. Leadership can be, being a school administrator is a very hard job. It's something very tough, and it's very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day in the school and to not have anybody to talk to. So having this personal learning network, even if it's one outside of your district of other administrators, I mean, if you look at the sheer caliber of just school principals that are presenting here. My buddy Eric, who presented at 7, and another buddy of mine, Patrick, who's in Massachusetts, who's presenting now, right? As a matter of fact, the sheer number of administrators who are out there who are embracing social networking to connect to each other, to learn from each other, to grow themselves as professionals so that they can get off the island is huge. And this, when we connect, we connect through lots of various means, but the whole point of this is that it connects us to very smart people. What somebody is doing in their school as an administrator can have a huge impact on me and my school if I take the time to learn about what they're doing. School safety is a hot topic right now. Everybody seems to be talking about school safety. So getting connected and getting plugged in and talking to other principals, hey, what are you doing when it comes to school safety? Or, how are you looking at teachers' use of in your BYOD? How are you making sure that the teachers understand how to teach in that environment? Let's talk about it. You work in a BYOD school. Let's talk about that. the only way that we will learn like that is to get connected. Now, my personal learning network is composed of lots of different things between Twitter and Facebook and lots of Ning sites, but colleagues are very important to me. Going to conferences is a big part of what I do, and that will come up later. Blogging, listening to podcasts. If you're an administrator and you haven't discovered the powerful thing called a hashtag found on Twitter, I encourage you to check that out. EdChat and CP Chat, which is Connected Principals, and Sat Chat, which is a wonderful Saturday chat, which I love to lurk on. I mean, these are just 3 resources for administrators that if you ask the people who participate in these hashtags, in these hashtag chats, and who just follow these hashtags, if you watch them and you talk to them and you say, what are the benefit do you see of getting out of these hashtags? They will tell you the amount of smart people that are tweeting and sharing their ideas and that are willing to help you, and the resources that they share. But the ideas that they get, I've seen more people make connections and valuable connections through these hashtags on Twitter that is just, it's mind-blowing. It's incredible the things that they're able to do and that they're able to accomplish. So this whole idea of the personal learning network is important, but again, it doesn't have to be all digital. It doesn't have to be it doesn't all have to be on Twitter. It doesn't have to be on Facebook. It can be with the administrator in the building next door or the other administrators in your district. Think of the principals or the administrators that you meet at a regional meeting or a conference or a statewide get together. That can be a personal learning network. It doesn't have to be digital. But the key part of this is that you have to look beyond yourself, and you have to look beyond kind of what's happening in your building and look and see what others are doing and get connected to those people. Again, alone we're smart, but together we're brilliant. And learning is inherently social, and learning is something that we that we should be doing together. It makes sense, I think, to get connected to other administrators in other parts of the district and other parts of the country and other parts of the world to all help make learning and leading easier and better for teachers and students. Digital age culture. So this is the idea that when we start getting into kind of the tool-based part of the net, the biggest part and the most important part of digital age culture is technology is used and embraced by all leaders. Again, it's very hard to have a leader who you see struggling to turn on a document camera when they're trying to present. Now, having a technical issue and struggling with the use of technology are 2 totally different things. So when I go present with teachers and go work with teachers one-on-one as part of my work, I oftentimes will run into technical difficulties. But I also will run into administrators who say, "Can you show me how to do an attachment in my email? Can you show me how to open a Google Doc?" It's this idea that because I'm an administrator or because I have a certain age or because I do a certain job, I don't have to learn technology. We have to kind of throw that all out and understand that in order to teach the 21st century student, we have to be a 21st century learner, and we have to be a 21st century leader. And being a 21st century learner and leader, that means understanding the use of technology, but also using technology. I work and spend a great deal of time helping my administrators figure out the types of tools that they can use in the course of their work. So, I mentioned Google. So that's, Google Docs is one of the easiest buy-ins for administrators because it will do 3 very powerful things. 1, they can work on documents that normally they would do in Word and they would have 13 different copies and they would have to put all together. They eliminate that. 2, they can do walkthroughs. So you can set up forms and you can set up docs and do walkthroughs that way. But you can also set up other types of forms that do lots of really cool data gatherings, parent surveys and things like that. all 100% free, all very easy to use. It's amazing the change that we see in administrators once we show them how easy it is to use technology. Something like Evernote, for capturing notes and things like that in meetings with parents, and you can snap a picture and put it in there and capture data. Using an RSS reader. I used to recommend Google Reader, but now I'll have to find something else to recommend to principals, for following blogs, for staying up on what's going on in technology. But also part of this digital age culture is seeking out new opportunities for technology integration for themselves and encourages others to do the same. So I think that goes back to the personal learning network. If you're engaged with the personal learning network, or you're using some of these other tools, you're using blogs, you're reading wikis, you're plugged into the greater global education knowledge, you'll find these opportunities to learn about technology integration. You'll hear about there's a really great, beside the School Leadership Summit, definitely. That is definitely one that you would hear about. It was on Twitter, it was lots and lots and lots of different places. There's a great free leadership conference coming up from FETC in Florida, a virtual conference, totally free, one day, lots of wonderful topics. You would hear about those because you were plugged in. But the more important part of this standard is encouraging others to do the same, encouraging other administrators to get to enhance their use of technology, encouraging other teachers to enhance their use of technology. We have a program in my district called TLC, for Technology, Leadership, and Change, and we have, out of my 81 administrators, we had 40 that signed up this year. And what they're doing is they're going through and understanding the change process when it comes to technology. But what they're secretly learning, and what they have started to pick up on, is, one, we're showing them how to use the tools during the course of their work, but we don't specifically teach tools. We showed them VoiceThread, we've shown them Animoto, we've shown them how to use Google Forms, we've shown them all kinds of things, but we don't show them how to use them. We just show them. And then they say, well, how did you do that? Well, then we say, oh, well, you can just go out and it's so easy to learn, 3 steps and you do it. But the biggest piece of that is that they feel empowered to do it because they understand and they see how easy it is. And now they're going back and they're starting to tell their APs about it. They're starting to tell other principals about it. They're starting to tell lots of different people about, hey, this whole technology thing is not as bad as people say it is. I have teachers who come up to me all day long who say, I don't do technology. Well, I don't do a lot of things, but I don't think of technology as doing something. Teachers, their main focus is content, and technology is something we layer on top of that. And as the administrator, if I'm doing my role as the administrator and I'm layering technology in there, my teachers are seeing how important it is to me that I'm embracing these tools and I'm using them, and they make some job that I'm doing easier. So they see, but it's not about we're not using Google Docs because it has a form feature. We're using Google Docs because it's just an easy way to create a form, and who cares? We're gonna put the information in there. But I'm encouraging my teachers to do the same thing. I'm encouraging my teachers to be risk takers. I'm encouraging my teachers to try. But I'm also encouraging my teachers to fail, and I'm encouraging my teachers to fail in front of the students, because failure is how we learn. And if I don't provide that environment that encourages them to try and to fail, then I failed as a leader. I have to have an environment that encourages my parents or my teachers to try to be better teachers, but also provides them the opportunity to fail so that they have the opportunity to learn. And it's okay to fail in front of kids. As a leader, I would want to fail in front of a group, so that I constantly am stumbling in front of my team. That's how we get better. That's how we learn. And then the third part of that is the work that you do outside of the building, going to conferences, going to workshops. Going to ISTE can be a life-changing experience for an administrator. We try to take, in our district, we try to take administrators every year. I'm fortunate enough to have a grant that I'm able to do that. that I'm able to take administrators to ISTE. But it's seeking out free opportunities. If you've heard of ed camps, which are completely teacher-organized, free professional developments, I mean, why not? Why not take part in that on a Saturday and get together with other folks who are, who have questions about learning and leading, or who want to have a conversation on maybe how to make professional development better. Well, we run Ed Camp North Carolina, and I want principals to come, because when I do a session on why PD sucks, I want a principal to tell me why I'm wrong, or how we can be better, or I want their input. So you can take that same model of doing the whole idea of the unconference and bring it to your school, but the only way you learn about those is if you attend. And it's more than attending just the principal conference. It's attending like an ASCD conference. It's attending a math conference. It's attending a social studies conference. It's going to all these different places to learn about how teachers in their content areas are beginning to integrate technology and beginning to understand how technology layers on top of their content. And the only way that they'll be able to do that is if they get out of the building once in a while and go to something more than the, oh, I'm going to the state principals conference this year, where, and that's important, but hey, I've got a group of math teachers who are doing something really innovative. Well, I'm going to go to the math conference so I can learn more about how to encourage them and support them. And just like Chris said, it's the virtual conference like this. It's 8:37 on the East Coast right now. It's after work on the West Coast, and there's still 3 more hours of this conference to go. It's something that is it's available out there, and there's lots of virtual conferences like these that are available. And the cool thing is, a lot of them are recorded, so you can sit back. Somebody can't attend my session, or there are about 4 sessions going on right now that I wanna spend some time in. I'll be able to do that because I can go back later after the recordings are posted, and I can still be a participant in those. But the whole point is that to be that 21st century leader, you've got to get out of the building sometimes and go see what other people are doing to enhance their learning. And part of this whole idea of digital culture is seeking out new opportunities for technology integration. And so if we look at how school has been typically done in the past, if you look at school 100 years ago, we didn't have technology. Kids sat in rows. Teacher, would probably come by and hit you over the wrist with a ruler if you were doing something bad. Problem is, as we've moved through 100 years, classrooms haven't changed much. They still, this order of putting kids in rows and having order and maintaining order. I would much rather see classrooms that are collaborative, that are an environment for learning. And the only way that can happen is by having administrators who understand the use of technology and the use of technology integration. It's very difficult to use technology in rows. Kids, when they begin to use these tools, they naturally gravitate towards each other. They naturally want to learn together. But if I don't have an administrator who understands that part of technology integration, I'm going to have an administrator who encourages me to put my desks in rows, who encourages me to maintain order in my classroom, who says, oh, well, your classroom's being too loud, so your kids must not be learning today. Where the kids that are in this classroom might not be learning as much as the kids who are in this classroom. And so, it's tough to say. It's tough to say, and compare the amount of learning. But the point of it is, if you have an administrator who understands, hey, technology integration is more than just about the use of digital tools, but it's also about having flexible space. It's also about having the ability for the teacher to create an environment where it is going to be loud, and it is going to be messy, and it is going to be noisy. It is going to be a place where learning can happen anywhere in any form, and kids can just come and go, and that's all. That's technology integration. I mean, the whole point of why we do this is for better teaching and learning, and to have that administrator as part of the digital age culture is they've got to seek out those opportunities for technology integration, but they have to encourage teachers to do the same. So systematic improvement, moving on. Again, this jumps back to the funding, as providing the means for funding, and funding varies wildly across the country. It even varies wildly across a district. It's understanding that, whether you get it through an allotment, whether you have a specific line item in the budget that says, hey, this is what we're going to use for technology, then using it for technology that's appropriate, that's going to enhance learning, that's going to not put money and throw money at a problem and say, oh, well, the district next door, they're getting those iPads, our teachers, they're falling behind if they don't get iPads. It means funding technology the right way and having the technology that's appropriate in the classroom. But I think it goes a step further, and you reach out to the community, and you're looking at every available opportunity for enhancing the use of technology in the building. And again, that doesn't mean for just stuff. That doesn't mean for we've got to buy laptops. We have to have laptops. We have to have laptops. We have to have smart boards. We got to have document cameras. We got to have this. We got to have that. I would much rather see my administrators, and I tell them all the time, I would rather you spend a little bit less of money on hardware and spend a lot more money on professional development. Pay for your teachers to come in on a Saturday and let us spend all day with them, showing them how their content can be enhanced through just a few little changes in their pedagogy and a few little changes of spicing it up with technology. Spend that money in PD, spend that money in people, and spend a little bit less in stuff. But the other part of systematic improvement of the self and of the system is allowing educators to seek out those professional development opportunities. So, you're participating in this in this conference, and I wonder how many people are going to be able to go back to their district and say, I went to this awesome conference. I sat in these great sessions. I went to 5 sessions, and here's everything I learned. Is there a way for me to get renewal credit for my license? It seems that districts have been slow to embrace the idea that professional development doesn't have to be delivered by the district. Professional development can happen anywhere and can happen anytime and can happen in lots of different forms, but districts have been slow to make that change to allow teachers to the opportunity to show that they're, in terms of quote-unquote renewal credits, that they actually quote-unquote did something. I'm in a lucky position in my district that I approve all technology professional development that comes across my desk. So if I have a person who comes to me and says, hey, I went to the School Leadership Summit, and here are the 3 sessions I went to, and here's how I'm going to use the ideas in my classroom, and why don't you come out and I'm going to teach a model lesson of something that I learned, then I'm happy to talk about quote-unquote credits. But as the administrator, I need to be the one who's pushing for my teachers to seek those opportunities. I'm the one in my building who not only has to seek them out myself, but I need to be encouraging them to go to Ed Camp, to go to School Leadership Summit, there's a great webinar series every Saturday morning on Classroom 2.0. There's the Twitter chats. There's tons and tons and tons of places where educators are using professional development outside of traditional professional development, and they're not embracing this idea that a teacher can go to an Ed Camp and go to a conference that doesn't have preset sessions, but still come away with much more learning than they would ever get in a predefined district-driven professional development. So it's being the driving force in the district as the administrator, being the driving force to encourage teachers to seek out those opportunities. And then the last area of the net is digital citizenship, being a model of technology use and using technology appropriately, and helping promote the legal and ethical use of digital information. Helping teachers understand their digital footprint, understanding the digital footprint themselves. It absolutely irks me to no end The idea that there are some administrators who still believe that it's okay to just go out to Google and copy images and put them into a presentation and present that information to the school or to anybody. It's equally as important for teachers to understand the legal and ethical issues of digital information as it is administrators. So I spend a great deal of time, again, working with administrators, helping them understand and navigate some of those areas when it comes to copyright, when it comes to Creative Commons, when it comes to digital footprints, and helping teachers and students understand their digital legacy. It's being a model of those things. And ISTE says, and I tend to agree, that maintaining that blog the blogging administrator, I think if you look at all the administrators who are connected through social media, the vast majority of them have a blog, and they'll tell you they started their blog because they were encouraged to reflect on something. There was some issue that somebody said, you should write about that. You should really you should flesh that out in a blog post. And so they start to blog, and as a digital leader and as a 21st century leader, the blog is the place to personally reflect on your learning, to personally reflect on your leadership, and to do it publicly. A lot of the administrators that I work with are afraid to blog. They're afraid of they don't know what they're going to say. They're afraid no one's going to read it. If you stick to how you're learning and how your leadership is impacting others, and you stay away from sticky issues of what's happening in individual classrooms and things like that. If you focus on your reflective yourself as the reflective practitioner, and you focus in on your leadership, I think you'll find that you'll begin to grow as a professional, because when I started blogging, I did it as a means of sharing information, but then I got into this idea of reflecting on my own personal leadership, and when I started doing that, I began to connect with other people, one, because they started reading it, but two, I learned a lot about my leadership style, and it helped me focus in on myself as a leader, and helped focus in on some of the things that I was trying to do and some of the initiatives that I was trying to undertake. And I was doing it very publicly. And the reason we do it publicly, we go back to that personal learning network, is we share those ideas with others, and we share the information and the reflection with others, so that others can help us grow, and so that others can help us be better leaders. So there's the 5 areas again of the ISTE nets. You've got the digital age learning, visionary leadership, digital citizenship, systematic improvement, and professional practice. Those are 5 big areas that administrators can focus on, and you can visit the ISTE website and learn all about the ISTE nets. I don't know if anybody's posted in the chat, but there are lots of different standards that encompass those. But the biggest, I think, takeaways of the personal learning network and understanding and using the personal learning network and getting connected, encouraging others to use digital tools, using digital tools yourself, and allocating time and resources to technology. But there's one more area outside of the nets that I think is kind of crucial to our growth as an administrator, and it's this idea of community. For so long, schools were centers of communities, and they were places where people spent a great deal of time. The school, the idea of the one-room schoolhouse was and the teacher who taught wide varieties of areas. We've moved away from that because we moved into where it became very impractical. But as a leader, if I bring my school back to the center of my community, I think we would begin to see a big change in not only parental involvement, not only we would have a greater involvement with students in our buildings. We would have greater involvement with our parents, with our general community, and I really want to see schools return to the center of the community. So as the administrator, I can use my digital tools to kind of help me with that. I can be promoting what I'm doing on Facebook and inviting my teachers to and inviting my community to say, hey, here, my doors are wide open. I want you to come visit. I want you to come see what my teachers are doing. Throw open put it out on Twitter, put it out on Instagram. I wrote a post not too long ago about the administrative PR machine. If the school is the center of the community, I think we have greater buy-in for a lot of the things that we're trying to do. I think we would see a lot less resistance. And it doesn't just mean that schools close, at 4 o'clock and we put the chairs on the top of the desk. A school should be a place where learning takes place no matter what time it is, no matter what day it is. As an administrator, I should be encouraged, and I should encourage my building to be a place that is part of my community. We have students, and we have parents who don't have internet access at home, but our schools are wired to the gills and have wireless to the gills. So why not open them up at night and allow people to come in and utilize those spaces at night? Do some community training. Do some job retraining. Return the school to the center of the community, and do it in using these digital tools. I think, and doing that in parallel with all of the other things that a 21st century administrator should do. If we can get back to this idea of the school as the community, I really think we would be better off. So if you're an administrator, take to heart the ISTE nets, take to heart some of the ideas there. You can certainly follow me on Twitter. You can check out my blog. I think it's been posted there. And get in touch if you've got questions about that. But I think the takeaway for all of us is change is definitely not hard. Is definitely not something that is easy to do, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be something that is to be feared. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to jump into a Twitter chat. Don't be afraid to open your school at night. Don't be afraid to learn about copyright. Don't be afraid to go to an ed camp. Don't be afraid to host an ed camp at your school. The whole purpose of being a digital leader is to be a digital Sorry, I'm getting direct messages. The whole point of being a digital leader is to be a digital learner, and part of that being a digital learner is being connected. And so, if you as an administrator, if you are encouraging folks to learn technology, if you're encouraging folks to use technology, if you're using technology yourself and you're embracing it as a part of the community, I think our leadership will definitely improve. So. There's my blog address. That is my email address. If you send me an email, that will come straight to me. I will answer it. It may take me a little while to get to it, but if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'm happy to talk about any of the things that we've done in our district or any of the ideas here. I don't know if we've got a few minutes if anybody wants to ask a question. I guess if you wanted to raise your hand or something like that. I don't know, Lisa. Do we want to do that? Can we do that?
Yes, we can. There are 3 ways to ask a question. You can raise your hand, you can put it in the chat, or you can go on mic. You can do all 3. To raise your hand, go down to the participant window, hover your mouse over the smiley face, go 1 more. That's to step away. 1 more is to raise your hand. The 3rd one over, click it. You should have heard raise hand or a little bigger something when I raised my hand. And then that would cue you up, and you would click on talk. It's like a walkie-talkie. You click it, you release it, you talk. When you're done, please click talk again. I guess we'll practice our wait time.
Well,
Yes, if you would like to save the chat, the whiteboard, or the participant list, you go up to File, go down to Save, and then you go over to the chat participant window or whiteboard. We didn't have a quiz, so don't have to worry about that.
Well, I hope that everybody, if nobody has a question, or if you, just want to, if you do have one and you just want to talk to me one-on-one, that's fine, whatever. I'm very happy to do that. We'll do a Google Hangout, we'll do a Skype, we'll, whatever you want to do. But if, I hope that everybody enjoyed the session, and I hope, even if hopefully you found something, at least one thing valuable from our conversation. And I do see it as a conversation. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read everything, and I'm going to take everything back. If you've got feedback for me, please let me know. But please go out and tell somebody about this. Please go back. If you're a teacher, you're an administrator, go back and tell other administrators about this. Go back and tell them about what you saw today, or what you learned, or who you met. Show them the website, show them the archive, show them all the videos. All of that stuff will be posted hopefully in the next couple of days. After at least after the weekend. Show it to them, and pick a session that you think will be valuable to them, and make them watch it, and help them understand this idea of getting connected and virtual learning. I think can really have a huge impact. I saw a question just a second ago. From Emory, the biggest hurdle in bringing tech to my principals is helping my principals understand that, one, it's okay that they didn't have to be the smartest person in the room, and two, it was okay for them to not know how to do something. And if they did it, it was okay that they failed. The VoiceThread example is one that comes to mind. I've used VoiceThread in a lot of classrooms with a lot of first graders, second graders, third graders, to watch administrators struggle with using VoiceThread, and having them, they just got so frustrated that they just wanted to just take their computer monitor and throw it up against the wall. And I said, imagine your teachers where we go in and we put $10,000 worth of technology into their classrooms, and we don't provide them the time to understand how to use it, because that's what a lot of them have done. They complain and they want us to come. I want you to come through and I want you to put technology in every single one of my classrooms, and we'll go through and we'll do it. But then when my folks come out to train them how to use it, well, we've only got an hour this week, so we need you to teach them how to use technology effectively in 1 hour. They're bound for failure. And so helping my administrators understand that this is a learning process. This is something that takes more than just one session. It's something that takes practice. It's something that takes time. And the other half of that is it takes the person to use it a lot. I'm trying to reteach myself how to use a system that we have in our district that I haven't used in a long time. But I'm having to relearn how to use it because I haven't used it in a long time. So helping my administrators understand that it's okay to fail was one of the biggest hurdles, but then helping them understand that they've got to provide themselves and their teachers the time in order to use these things and use these tools, and not only use them and understand them and how to use them, but how to layer them on top of their content has been a challenge. But they're starting to see the light. They're starting to come around, and they're starting to understand that it's not as hard as people have made it out to be. It's not as challenging as people have made it out to be, and that they're really beginning to embrace the use of technology, not for just themselves, but encouraging their teachers to do the same.
I would just like to take a second to say we should offer virtual applause. Go down to the Save Participant window, hover over the smiley face, drop down menu to go 3 down to applause. We are virtually applauding for you.
Well, thank you so much to everyone. I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. It's still very humbling for me that people come and they listen to me talk. And so if you've got any feedback for me, if you've got anything that you you think just generally, whatever kind of feedback, please send it to me. Please shoot me an email. Send me a message, whatever. I love to hear that feedback. So thank you. And so I'm running over. The keynote is actually getting started right now. So I'm going to be quiet so everybody can head out of here and head there.
You did a wonderful job. I'm going to stop the recording right now.